Often hailed, well, not anymore, but it used to be hailed as one of the best maps in the game, back in the beta especially, and in the early release of the game before there were a lot of custom maps like the GSL maps. People really liked Metalopolis, and oftentimes is where some of the most epic games came about, usually because of, like, there's a good amount of bases, it's rather wide open, and there's, like, not a lot of destructible rocks antics. People really don't like that too much. Um, But Shakura's Plateau, which we may see depending on how this game goes, is also hailed as one of the best Blizzard-made maps. So we're going to have to see, this is a cross position. Once again, Panerai has gotten Protoss, and here's Kiom on the 3 o'clock position, of course getting Terran as he chose, putting his supply depot once again between him and the gas. Maybe just a preference to put it there. And just taking a quick look at the actions per minute, you can see that they're doing 300 things per minute, 300 actions, clicks, selections, that sort of thing. They're just spamming to make it, make it go high, which, keeps them in the flow, so that in the later games when they really need to be doing, hundreds of things per minute, their hands will be warmed up and they'll be ready to go. Now we do see a barracks once again and a gateway. Last game we saw Panerai go for a really, really early robotics facility. He got it like after his first gateway, which is it's rather early, but not so early that it's ridiculous. And he got some good colossi out. However, Kiom was able to contain Panerai using his siege tanks and was just able to do so much damage to the stalkers, which destroyed all the stalkers and allowed the Vikings to take out the colossi, which were the main damage dealers of the Protoss army. Now, we're going to have to see what each player does differently this game to see if Kiom decides once again to do a siege tank heavy army, or if he decides to go something else. And we'll see what Panerai does. Maybe he'll mix it up and go Stargate tech, but I cannot say for certain. Cybernetics core going down per usual, and a Marine already out, and a reactor, which seems to be Kiom's typical build. He really seems to like the Marines quite a bit. And he is using his Marine to scout around inside of his base to make sure Panerai did not put in any proxy pylons after scouting his race was indeed Protoss. Now, Panerai right here is, sorry for that brief pause, I had to go and check something in another one of my pages. Panerai is going for a fast expansion against Kiom, and Kiom perhaps sensing this vulnerability may go for some early aggression with a lot of Marines, but we'll have to see. Because Panerai right now, he only has a single gateway. He does not have Warp Gate, although he is trying to Chrono Boost it out. And now he's getting 3 gateways. So typically, the 3 Warp Gate expand may consist of you getting 3 Warp Gates prior to expanding. But Panerai, he's trying to be a little greedy here. If he gets this expansion out and can saturate it really early on, he'll have a very, very solid economic lead over Kiom. Now, Kiom is either going to have to do some sort of aggressive push early on, or expand himself. Otherwise, he'll be really behind Panerai. He was able to secure and mine from a second base quite early on. We see Panerai just moving around, scouting around. He sees that no expansion has been taken by Kiom, and Kiom now has a lot of Marines just at his ramp, preventing any scouting into his base. And he is again getting a tech lab on his factory and a starport. He may be trying to go for Banshees this game. By swapping out the tech lab onto the starport as soon as it's finished. And like Kiom likes to do, consistently pushing out those Marines and continually scouting with 1 SCV. And now as you can see, just taking a look at the harvester count, at the income rather, you can see that the income, well actually it's rather even, but it's starting to push in favor of Panerai, if not for this mule, which is really increasing Kiom's income quite a bit. And of course, as soon as Panerai gets saturated from double producing probes, he will have a very, very consistent economic lead over Kiom. Now Kiom did as I suggested, but not going for the fast Banshee, again going for the fast Raven, trying to build up that energy for that point defense drones when they are really, really crucial and needed. And again going siege tanks, we will definitely see Siege Tank coming up as soon as he gets 100 gas, because he's really, really into the Siege play, because the Siege Tanks are really, really powerful if used correctly against Protoss, and now finally getting his command center, because he does not want to be too far behind the Protoss in terms of the economic game. Now Panerai, he has now his robotics facility, and he does have a observer floating across the middle of a map, but once again, if he walks too close to this Raven, the observer will quickly be sniped out of the air and not able to get the scouting he wants. But he will definitely see this expansion being built at least. And now if you take a look at this income tab, you can see that definitely Panerai has a economic advantage. He has 40 compared to 29 harvesters, and his gas is a lot higher, which can be really important, especially if he's trying to do some sort of heavy tech build. And we just see 3 gateways right now, and a Twilight Council, perhaps Blink, maybe even going to High Templar tech. But we do see a lot of stalkers here trying to do some aggressive push. And if you go to the army counter, you can see they're rather similar though, so it may be tough for these stalkers to do a lot of damage, but there is no siege tech quite yet, and he just has marines. Stalkers are looking up the ramp, but there are just too many marines for him to deal with. He's trying to push up, maybe snipe up a couple marines, but it looks like he may have to move back in the future. And this time Panerai is being smart. He's not moving up the ramp with his detector because he knows there's a Raven. He realizes what build is Kiom doing. He sees the siege tank. He probably saw that point defense drone go down, so he knows what he's up against. He knows the Raven plus marines plus siege tanks, the same thing he saw last game. So he probably is going to change up his build from last game to try and counter it even better. They just have 2 more gateways coming down, and no robo facility, no robo bay quite yet. Instead, yeah, exactly. Like I said, he's trying to go Temple Archives. He's trying to mix it up. If he gets good, he can even feedback the Raven. He can actually feedback point defense drone if he micros well enough. But if he gets really good Psystorm down on the Marine, then he can just blink in on top of the siege tanks. I assume he's getting blink. Yes, he is. He can just blink onto the siege tanks and take them out. But there is a advantage here. He has 5 kills now, and there's 1 stalker being warped in. All the stalkers are out of position in front of Kiom's base, and the Banshee was able to disrupt the income a little bit of Panerai. Now he is getting a couple more pylons, and probably right now trying to chrono boost Kader and Amulet. And now here's a push from Kiom. Again, their armies are really, really similar, but if the siege tanks can siege up and do a lot of splash damage, then that could be a big problem for Panerai. And now Panerai is bringing an observer over to get sight of the high ledge, and he's going to blink up onto the ramp into Kiom's base, and Kiom is going to retreat and try to deal with it. But these stalkers are going to be able to do a lot of damage to the interior base of Kiom, and once Kiom gets in, Panerai can just up and blink right out. So he took down a factory, took down another factory and a barracks. He's going to take down this factory as well. The SUVs are being pulled to try and repair the factory, and then the stalkers, sensing that they could be in danger, can just walk right to the edge of the map, edge of the base, and then blink right out. That was a very, very good play from Panerai, able to disrupt the push from Kiom, do a lot of damage, and Kiom really could not do anything against that blink attack from Panerai. Now Panerai has a very, very big army advantage because he was able to take out a lot of the Marines as they filed in into the base. And now the stalkers are coming into the front, but the siege tanks, if they siege up, they can do a lot of damage. The siege tanks need to get into position. There they are. The siege tanks are sieging up at the top of the ramp, and the stalkers are trying to take out the Marines. And now a lot of SUVs are being pulled from the line. And again, just look at this army count. You can see that Panerai has a definite lead. He's researching Psionic Storm, and once he has Psionic Storm and Kader and Amulet, he'll be able to warp in 75 energy High Templars and instantly be able to Psystorm the Terran army. Now he's getting ready. He has his observer up here. He's going to do another blink up to the top. He blinked into the base. Here's 1 siege tank and more on the ramp trying to do damage. But the stalkers, there are just too many stalkers for those siege tanks to deal with, and the siege tanks are going to be able to make the stalkers flee, but not before they were able to do a lot of damage, taking out most of these Marines. However, it looks like Panerai may have overextended himself a bit there, getting a little over-eager and taking too many hits from these siege tanks. You can see each of those has 3 kills, and this one here had quite a bit of damage dealt as well. And now Panerai is taking his 3rd to definitely secure that economic advantage over Kiom that he needs to finish this game. He has a lead here, and if he just pumped out units, he'd be able to take it. But he is doing something good. He is getting another base to secure that advantage. So even if he messes up in some sort of attack, he'll have a base over Kiom and be able to outmine, out macro Kiom in the future. And now here comes these stalkers once again. Mobile units coming in, picking off that building command center, picking off an SCV, picking off the refinery. And Kiom with the slow siege tanks cannot do too much. Although the siege tanks come in, pop a shot, and then the stalkers of Panerai can instantly blink out, get to safety, and recuperate their shields. Again, we have more and more stalkers coming. We do not see any High Templars being utilized. We do have one somewhere. Here's a High Templar, but he's really content to use the stalkers to do the damage that he needs, and keeping some stalkers around his base because he knows that a little bit of Banshee harass could potentially be coming. And we do see still more siege tanks, more marauders, and it's good that it's going